Welcome to episode 1073 of Flow Wrestling Radio Live. A very, very, very special episode of Flow Wrestling Radio Live because we've got World Championship brackets. It's World Championship week. U23s just happened. That's why you're listening to me, not Christian Piles. Christian's already in Albania, getting great content on the ground from the World Championships. But before we get into all that, we are joined by a very special guest today, head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, Chris Pendelton. Chris, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Super excited because not only is it World Championship week, it's Division I wrestling season kickoff week. It's finally here. We've been waiting for 4 months or whatever. I am actually headed out to Oregon to join you guys this weekend because huge duel. Iowa's coming to town. So talk a little bit about how this duel kind of came to be and why this is such a big event for your program this weekend.
Game changer. We're really excited about putting on a great event for the fans. A little bit of backstory on how this came along is just relationships. I think a lot of scheduling is relationships. Tom Brands was one of the first people that reached out to me when I got the call. It's really kind of a trip down memory lane because one of the first big wrestling camps I ever went to is the University of Iowa camp here in Oregon. So Tom reached out to me. We had set a home and home up, and then we had that little fiasco where we didn't get to make the dual meet. I think it was about 3 years ago. And I remember being stuck in the airport for about 8 or 9 hours and trying literally everything. I think that Iowa was trying to have us fly into Denver, and they were going to charter a bus that was going to pick us up and then take us to Iowa City, and we tried everything. It wasn't able to happen, and I had to make the phone call to Tom Brands that we weren't going to be able to make the duel, which was not a fun one. It was not a fun one. I think everybody at the airport could hear him through my phone. But then right after the season, he reached back out again and said, hey, totally understand. Let's get that set up again. So we went out and wrestled in Iowa City last year, and now we're going to get to host them this year.
That's great. Great stuff. You and your team are, I'm sure, putting kind of the final touching preparations this week. But talk a bit about how preseason went, the months leading up to this, once you got all the guys back on campus in August.
School at the end of September, actually. So our preseason is a little bit different than most other schools. We've had really good off season, a lot of good training. Last week we had a wrestle offs where we're going to have 8 out of 10 new faces in the lineup. So it's a measure of excitement for the coaches and for the athletes, and we're just going to get to see them go out and you can't ask for a better kickoff to the season. We're looking at bringing in 8,000-9,000 people in attendance, having a massive crowd, a great team that's coming to town. So we're excited.
Speaking on that crowd a little bit, how have you created an attractive environment for fans in Corvallis? Because, I'm not sure it was always this way. You look back probably 10, 15 years ago, you're not bringing in maybe thousands of fans to a duel in November like you are now.
This goes back to, my first year here. During COVID, we had cardboard cutouts in the stands, and there was no bigger punch in the stomach than walking out and seeing that was the start of your head coaching career. I'm a big believer in duels. I think duels definitely matter. I think with the shifting landscape of the NCAA, I hope more people put more stock into duels and providing a source of revenue for athletic departments. We always knew that there was a thirst for Division I wrestling and for an elite teams to come in, and the coaching staff has been working really hard about not only putting on a duel and having good teams in, but investing in the atmosphere, investing in the promotion of it. Even this year, we're going to be unleashing some new things. They're literally shutting down the streets around Gill. We're going to have food trucks, beer tents, the whole 9 yards, big screen TVs, and then even in-game atmosphere where we're going to have a beer garden set up inside the Gill Coliseum. And I'm just really excited to see how it's going to look. I think it's going to help get the place a little bit more rowdy, but we just need to be forward thinkers in that way with wrestling about going in and actually putting on a show, attracting people, and bringing in a new revenue stream.
I think that's awesome. How important is the on the mat product versus all the other extra stuff like you're talking about? Because I feel like you can do all that, but you got to be good.
You can do all that, but you better be good, because if
Right.
you're not very good, then you're not here very long. I feel pretty confident in what our program continues to do. I think that with a lot of new faces and a lot of new opportunities for people to go out and make a name for themselves, I don't shy away from tough competition. I think if you look at Oregon State's schedule the last 3 or 4 years, we go out and we wrestle the best of the best. We're opening up our season with number 2 and number 3 teams in the country, specifically because if you want to know if you can, drag someone to deep water, you better figure out if you can swim first. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to go wrestle the best and then go back and see where we need to get better and to continue to develop as the season goes along.
Yeah, I think you also do Ohio State in January, and then CKLV as well. That's got to be one of the toughest, at least non-Big Ten schedules in the country this year.
Yeah, I'd put it up there against a lot of team schedule, but I don't think it's really anything that we've done differently. I think we're always kind of going out there and we just want to go find the best people that we can go and wrestle them.
You guys have created a proof of concept for this big show duel at Gill, and this year you guys get to do it twice within a time span of 3 weeks. What was it like, the conversations with your athletic department? Because I know there's extra investment that goes into creating a dual meet like this. It's not just, hey, you can just spin up a big event. I mean, you guys have to do a lot of work. So what were those conversations like, where you're moving from one dual meet per year that's a big event to now there's 2 in like a 2-week time period?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, once you kind of pitch a vision to an athletic department, you have to kind of come through and show everybody what you actually mean, what we're doing, what the significance of an elevated stage, what the significance of priority seating, of just a whole show in itself. And luckily, the numbers have continue to grow. The event's getting bigger and bigger. And out of my end of the year meeting last year, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. They sat down and they said, "Hey, your really big event was our highest revenue generating event in Gill Coliseum history. Can you do it again? How many times do you think you can do it, and how can we do it better?" And I think that's one of the things that people have to realize with, the new shape of House versus NCAA. We better come up with good revenue streams, and we better have that relationship with administrators that we're going to continue to press. We're going to continue to grow. I love that picture.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just listening on Apple or Spotify, it's a packed Gill Coliseum, to the Gills, and it's fun to hear you say we're only going to get bigger and better from here. So I'm super excited to see how you can continue to improve upon that. And part of that's obviously going to be the guys on the mat. You kind of talked a little bit about it, some new faces, new changes to this lineup. What are those new changes we can expect to see come Saturday night?
Well, I think our number one thing, probably the biggest move in the offseason is Trey Munoz sat down right after the NCAAs, and me and him had a good talk, and he decided that he wanted to make the move up to 197, which I personally I loved that he was thinking that way. I think it's going to be really cool getting to watch him compete in his dad's, my old college teammate, his weight class. That's where Mark Munoz won his first NCAA title, and that's where Jay's going to be chasing it down. And then after that, you just started seeing a lot of the shifting with the team. Obviously, 84 pounders, 97 pounders, with Trey talking about that. That kind of got them going. And then, starting at the beginning of the lineup, we're having Maximo Renneria coming out, replacing All-American Brandon Kaler. Mac had some really good wins last year. He's been really excited. And this up across the lineup, you started to see new faces in, people shifting weight classes. Last year, we got hit by the injury bug pretty good. So I think that some of those new faces got a little bit of experience, and I'm excited to see what they get to do.
Speaking on kind of entry bug, and I was talking a little bit earlier about preseason and whatnot, how has the preseason, I'll say preseason specifically, that training cycle changed from when you were in college to what it is now, or is it pretty similar? Do you try and incorporate a similar strategy to when you were in school?
It's similar. I think we use our entire summer, spring, summer, and fall. We break it up into a little bit of like fight training camps. 6 weeks on, send the kids off at home for 2 weeks, and we try to be a little bit more methodical on the areas that we want to work. I think once to the end of kind of backtrack to the end of the NCAA season, we sit down, we start saying this is where we struggle, this is where we got to get better, and we target those areas to make sure that we really zone in on them in the preseason. Then once we get in the fall, it starts getting into that little bit of that repetition about getting the guys down to weight, getting their bodies good and healthy, getting them ready, getting them excited.
What is maybe the biggest coaching takeaway that you try to implement from your college coach, John Smith, the legend, that you try and incorporate into your coaching strategy?
I wouldn't say that John and I are super similar coaching wise. I'm actually a little bit more mellow than him. He was a pretty fiery guy. I think the rest of the world's going to miss having him prowling on the sidelines. I want to probably say our biggest similarities is not accepting anything in any aspect of the program, whether it be on the mat, whether it be your GPA, whether it be just your social life. You should always strive to be the best of the best.
Praise to it.
Well, you brought up the fact of Trey Munoz going up to 197, and we'll get to talk to him in a little bit, but he's got a huge matchup right off the bat, and it's not only is this duel probably the premier match of week one of the NCAA season, but that match in particular at 197, that's really the headliner for all of college wrestling this weekend. What do you think about that matchup with Stephen Buchanan and Trey Munoz?
I'm excited about it. I think that once you start, Trey's been at 84 for so long, you kind of keep seeing the same people over and over. Buchanan's obviously a monster. Followed his career from Wyoming to OU to now in Iowa, and that's going to be one that I think there's going to be a lot of points. I don't really see it being a 1-1 match at all. I think that those two guys are going to go out and they're gunslingers. They're going to come out firing at each other.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then, another one that I'm curious about is heavyweight. I know that the wrestle-off is going to depend, the result there is going to, determine who's in the lineup. But, how'd that wrestle-off go, and who are we going to see against Keeter?
Can't tell everything. Aiden's been on a little bit of a recovery plan. Him and Justin Rademacher obviously competing at the World Championships. They didn't have a very big summer, and I think one of the things that you look at with the guys that are doing high level Greco freestyle and U23s, U20s, everything like that you have to be smart. You have to have a plan with them. That you have to kind of stick to the plan. You can't just yank them in and out. You just see nationally it doesn't really work very well with those guys that when you don't kind of let a kid have that recovery time. So we're going to see how he looks this week, and we'll see what happens on Saturday night.
Well, awesome, Coach. Thank you for your time. Is there anything else?
Oh, I actually have one more question.
Yeah.
You've talked about things that you guys have done in the past with these duels, but one thing that's going to be new this year is the Pac-12 championships are going to be on a Thursday, that conference weekend. And it's a pretty new concept, and I feel like it's going to put the conference on a little bit of its own stage for that night. What was the decision like for the Pac-12 championships to be on Thursday instead of on the weekend?
Well, I think that's a good question. We've had that question a lot, just with everything with the AQ waivers in the Pac-12 and what the future looks like going forward. We have an opportunity this year to kind of do something new, and sitting down with Neil Ersman, Cerritos, Luke Smith, we all kind of agreed, like, hey, if this was a year that we were going to try something new, let's do it. So we're actually going to have the elevated stage for the Pac-12 championships. It's going to be on a Thursday night. It's going to give wrestling fans what they want. I mean, they want content. They want to watch great wrestling. I mean, you look at the Pac-12s at 197 alone, between Trey, Mr. Fast Switch, and the Little Rock kid. I mean, you got three guys that might finish top three in the nation. So that weight class alone is going to be worth the cost of attendance. And we're just excited about trying to do something new. Always don't want to fall on that little concept of just doing status quo. Let's try something new and bring in new people.
Coach, this has been great. Is there anything else you want to add or promote or shout out before we let you get out of here and get on to our next very special guest?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you guys for having me, and look forward to having you guys out on campus.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to being out there, and we are going to transition to our next guest, but we're staying in Corvallis because it's Trey Munoz, new 197-pounder of the Oregon State Beavers. Trey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Like I said, one of the biggest news kind of stories coming out of this offseason was your decision to move up to 197 pounds. Talk a little bit about when you made that decision and what all went into it.
Yeah. Obviously, my dad went 197 when he was in college, and my dad was always like, "Oh, Trey, you're gonna be a 197 when you're in college." I was like, "There's no way." I was supposed to be a 165 coming into college, and I was probably weighing 180 pounds, sopping wet, when I first got to Arizona State. So there's no way in my mind that I was gonna go 197. But last year, I was cutting a little bit of weight. My body wasn't feeling the greatest, and I think wrestling should be fun, just like any other sport should be. And especially in my 6th year of college, I think not cutting weight would make wrestling a little bit more fun for me. So, yeah, just eating a lot, lifting a lot, and yeah, it got me up to 197.
Is there a big difference between how 174 pounders wrestle and how 197? I know it's only like 23 pounds, but it does kind of feel like almost like a middleweight to an upperweight kind of jump.
Yeah, I do think there's a little bit difference. I feel like 174 pounders are a little bit faster than 197 pounders. Move their feet, pick up their feet a little bit better. But I think that's really the only main difference between 74 and 97 pounders is really just speed.
One of the training partners I want to ask you about is Justin Rademacher. This is a guy that came into college with, I think, expectations that he could be good, but I don't know that anybody thought he was going to be on a U20 World team this summer and that he was going to have as much of an impact as he did as a freshman. What's it like having a partner like him, and how would you describe him to people that maybe haven't watched him a ton?
Yeah, I mean he's gotten tremendously better since when he got here. I remember the first time I wrestled him was at a summer camp, and we wrestled live. And after he gets off the mat, he goes, "I just got Munozed." So I was like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna, this guy's I don't know about this guy, but I mean he's got the work ethic, and he's got a great mindset, and I think for a young guy, he's gonna keep getting better, and yeah." Coach P calls him the android, just because he's super strong, and he's kind of like robotic in a sense. But I mean he's gonna keep getting so much better, and with the right training partners, wrestling with me, wrestling with other guys in the room too, he's gonna All-American twice, maybe 3 times.
That's awesome.
We were talking a lot with Coach Pendelton about the atmosphere he has kind of built there at Oregon State around these dual meets, and especially when you get one of the top teams in the country like Iowa coming in. How excited are you for this duel this weekend, and what kind of atmosphere are you expecting to compete in?
Yeah, I think last year we had Penn State here, and we had the elevated stage that Coach P was talking about, and We had almost 9,000 fans come out and watch. So it was a pretty great atmosphere to be in, especially on the West Coast, because I feel like we don't get as much support for wrestling as some people do on the East Coast. So it was cool to see the Pacific Northwest and maybe even Northern California too just come together and support wrestling up here. Is a great atmosphere, and I'm hoping to get that even more this year with Iowa and Oklahoma State coming out this year. Um,
You've got Iowa coming out, and I mean, you're new to the weight 197. Stephen Buchanan, he's new to Iowa. So when you saw the schedule, I don't even know if Buchanan was the opponent that you thought you would have at the time. But what do you think about him coming in, and what do you think about that being the first match of the season for you?
No, yeah, he's a great competitor, and I got nothing but respect for him. He's been having a great career, and I hope he has a great year this year. Um, but when I saw that I was gonna wrestle him first, I got kind of excited because I think wrestling is not about wins and losses. It's about being the best wrestler you can be. And even if I go out there and lose, I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna come back. And when I see him at NCAA's again, I think I can make the adjustments and I can win NCAA's. So my focus isn't about winning or losing. It's about going out there and letting it fly because I only got 1 year left and might as well leave it all out there on the mat. So
The other big change at 197 that impacts your schedule is now Bakersfield has AJ Ferrari, and that's a team that you guys will duel. It's now going to be a conference opponent. Yeah, did you ever expect that you'd be wrestling AJ Ferrari?
honestly, no. I mean, like I said, I thought I was gonna be a 165 pounder, and when I saw he was coming back this year, I mean, I got excited again because I mean, um, I don't know. I usually don't get the kind of opponents that I do in the season, early on in the season too. So I'm pretty excited to wrestle these tough opponents and just continuing to get better and sharpening my sword for March, where I have my sights set on getting on top of that podium this year.
You're going to have one of the toughest schedules in the country because we were talking with Coach Pendelton. Y'all's out of conference schedule is probably the toughest non-Big Ten. Plus, your weight class in the conference is loaded as well with three of the best guys in the country. How important is that strength of schedule to you now as a sixth-year senior versus what it would have been as a first or second year wrestler still kind of trying to find your footing?
Right. I think it's all in the mindset. I think everybody at this level has the skills to be a national champion. It's really all about your mindset. And I think first year me would have kind of cowered a little bit and kind of been a little bit nervous for these matches. But I mean, this is an opportunity to show people what I've been working on and how good that I think I am and how good I believe that I am. Even if people don't believe that I'm going to win the match, I think I have to believe in myself. And the schedule is just a testament to all the hard work that Coach P has been doing and the culture that he's been setting in this room. In this room, and yeah, I mean, it's just exciting, especially for me going into my 6th year. I mean, it's all about getting better. And I think one thing going into my last year is wrestling. I mean, like I said, wrestling shouldn't be scary. It should be a fun thing that I get to do every day. And like people would fight to be in the spot that I'm in right now. So it's just exciting. Wanting to get better at the sport and trying to sharpen my sword, like I said.
You're a guy who has continued to steadily get better throughout your career. I feel like if you just look at your NCAA finishes, it went from, I think, blood round to sixth to third. How have you continued to show steady progress? And if there's any, somebody who's going to wrestle in college or think about wrestling in college, what piece of advice would you give them to make similar improvements throughout their career?
Yeah, one thing that my dad always said was the only thing that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is the extra. Because if you break down the word, it's extraordinary. So what I try to do is I try to be the first one in the room and the last one out. if I feel like I didn't get a great practice in, I won't leave until I feel satisfied. You know, if I didn't feel strong enough, maybe I'll get 50 pull-ups in, or if I didn't score on a takedown, maybe I'll do 5 reps of that finish, or if I want to get better at a shot, maybe I'll drill that shot until I feel satisfied. So I started pretty late in wrestling, so I feel like my improvement curve, my learning curve was pretty exponential. So I had to get that extra in, and I feel like that was just something that my dad ingrained in me. So I feel like I'm still getting better and putting that extra work in.
Your role on on this team is, obviously one of a leader. Coach Pendelton was saying like eight new guys in the lineup. What do you expect from this young group, or this group of guys that are new to the lineup? And how does your role as a leader maybe impact that?
Yeah, I know. I mean, every year I feel like it's going to be a different team. It's been so awesome to see the development of some of these guys. I mean, we got some young guys on the team, some older guys, and it's going to be exciting this year. Some of the guys I barely even know, but it's going to be exciting to get to know them and get to watch them wrestle. I mean, up and down the lineup, we got 125 Maximo, 133 Damien. I mean, it's just going to be an exciting year. And as a leader, I think this year what we need most is mindset, especially like you guys said, going through the tough schedule that we have. Everybody, I mean, all these guys have the skills. It's just whether or not they believe in themselves. And I think that's what Coach P and what I kind of want to instill in this team is you really got to have a crazy confident like belief in yourself if you want to win on this level.
You're now a graduate of Oregon State. Do you have any plans for what you want to do after this season and your college wrestling career comes to an end?
Honestly, no. I have my degree, and I just started my master's program, so I'm gonna finish out my master's program here, and then once I'm done with that, I'm not really sure. Sorry, that's my trainer Tom, but
Tom.
um, no, but I don't really know yet. I think I could get into coaching. I could get into teaching. That's what my degree is in, is chemistry with an education focus. So I'm not really sure yet.
Well, hey, thank you for your time. We are super excited to get out to Oregon this weekend and watch you compete in what I'm sure is going to be an amazing match. Is there anything else you want to add, thank, or shout out before we let you get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to be in this position. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And I'm pretty excited for this year. November 2nd, 7 p.m. Be there.
There you go. We will be. I will be. Anyways, I'm sure these guys will be tuning in live on Flow, which is where you can watch it. So,
That's right, baby.
hey, thank you, Trey. See you this weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Well, hey, that was great stuff. I could not be more excited. That's probably the premier match of the weekend, premier duel, premier match.
Yeah, no doubt. There are going to be some other good ones. I know Missouri's at Northern Colorado. There'll be some good matches there, but I mean, Oregon State, Iowa that's a serious duel, and that match at 197 is going to be, I think that's going to be the talk of the weekend, really.
I think so too. Y'all might get into that a little more on Thursday's show, but we're going to get into World Championship talk because brackets came out. They came out twice, actually. They came out and then they forgot a seeding criteria to incorporate that into the blockchain or something.
2023 World Championships should get factored in. They weren't factored in, so they had to redraw. So it was a little bit of a tease. It almost heightened the excitement, I think.
I know. And now the biggest news is David Taylor and Abdulrashid Sadulaev are going to wrestle match 1. Crazy. It's very reminiscent of David's first World Championship run in 2018 when he drew Yazdani first round and then went on a run, had to beat Kruglev and Tori Blanca, and I forget who he ended up seeing in the finals.
I
actually.
would bring all of it up on the computer, but my computer is being a piece of garbage right now, so this has been very frustrating. But yeah, that 2018 run was pretty amazing, and
There's space computer. Perfect.
awesome screen, nice computer, nice technology, love it.
So it would almost be a storybook for David Taylor. His first World Championships, his last World Championships, going on crazy runs. I saw some talk of this favors David because getting Sadulaev right off the scale, but I don't think this is like an insane pull or anything for Sadulaev. Maybe if you're looking for something, maybe it favors David a little bit, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't expect that to be a deciding factor in the match, but I mean, it's just notable that Sadulaev hasn't made 92 for a really long time, and so it could matter. I like you though, don't expect it to be the factor. I think the wrestling is going to determine this match. I mean, I think these guys are both ultra competitors. They're both as good as it gets, and so I would be really surprised if it's something as simple as a weight cut that determines this. But I do think if you're a David Taylor fan, you know, you want to look for any little advantage you can.
Right.
And if it's a little edge that, you know, it could help. It could help.
For sure. And then Gassimpor is also on that side. So that'll be a potential semifinal with David Taylor, Sadulaev, whoever wins that match, which means, A, David has to go through both of those guys just to medal, and B, one of those three won't medal, obviously.
That's the gnarliest thing. I mean, this is why it's Olympics Part 2. I think you just look at the way these brackets are and like who's all in them. This is as tough a bracket. It's not the non-Olympic weights or whatever. This is David Taylor, Sadulaev, Gassimpor. Just those three guys alone makes this one of the most legit tournaments that we've seen in a long time. And yeah, I'm pumped because CP got some great stuff. The Albania guys are out there right now overseas. And David Taylor even, you know, is talking about like, oh yeah, we got this chest wrap. That's what you got to watch out for. I mean, you can already like picture it in your mind, what's going on. And David's thinking about it. I'm sure Sadulaev is. And yeah, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, you can go listen to the full interview on the website or YouTube. But one interesting thing I found when I listened to it was they brought in Coach Mo, the Greco coach, to work some parterre defense for David to try and defend that good gut wrench of Sadulaev.
Yeah, he talked about that as a point of emphasis. And I guess side note, it has been so incredible for David Taylor to give so much access throughout these weeks leading up to this match with Sadulaev. It's like one of the things that sometimes feels like it's missing from wrestling media coverage is like candid conversation about the opponent. And I love it because it'd be easy to, you know, for David Taylor to be just like full coach speak and to say, oh, what, you know, like you just got to beat the guy in front of you or, you know, whatever. But he's like, no, Sadulaev is absolutely a different level of an opponent. Sadulaev does these things really well. I do these things really well, and I'm going to have to like focus in. And so we don't know the whole game plan, but we do know, yeah, that parterre defense is going to be important. And I mean, one of the things that David Taylor said was he hasn't had to focus on parterre D very often because there are not very many people in the world that can even get on top of him, that can take him down at all. He's like, Sadulaev is one of those people, and I know that. So, yeah, I loved all of the, you know, all the conversation from DT about it. So if you haven't listened to it, you definitely need to go do it because he gives some really good insights.
And another takeaway, which I know he basically said this when he came on the show the other week, but he reassured that he said, I'm going to shoot. He said, yeah, you know, you work on like that chest lock defense, but you can't focus on it too much because then you just change up your complete style, which you should not do. You know, you should take things into consideration, make some note of things, but you shouldn't all of a sudden just completely change how you've wrestled your entire life or your entire senior level career just because of one potential threat. So he's gonna shoot on Sadulaev.
He did say that. I trust him. I believe him.
He did say he's not as worried about Gassimpor.
That was funny. He's like, it's not that Gassimpor's not good. He said he's really good. He's really good at the things he does, but he's a little more straightforward to game plan for. He just does these certain things and he does them well. But yeah, it was very interesting. He's like, nah.
Yeah, afterthought. Okay. Other brackets, 79 kilograms. Jordan Burroughs, tough draw.
But not as tough as it was the first time it came out.
Yeah, that's true. He originally had Nakoti first round, who I think most of us circled as probably the main threat to Jordan. Jordan's, I think, the odds-on favorite to win this bracket. But he originally had Nakoti, the Iranian, first round. Now he'll have him in the quarters. Second round, most likely. Or third round? Is that
I'm using my phone because this
large bracket
piece of garbage computer wants to crap out on me here. I'm looking it up now.
because I think he'll go. He has his opening round match.
This is a big bracket. Nakoti is up on the top. He's literally what would be the 1 seed, and Burroughs is. This is compelling right now. I don't even see Burroughs in.
Avloev, I think, former Russian, would be round 2, and then Nakoti, and then a Konchadze semifinal.
Oh, there he is. Okay, yes.
I think is the path.
Burroughs would be in the quarters with Nakoti. First, he has the winner of Romania and France, Kadzhiev. That guy, he's got some background. Then we'll have the winner of Tajikistan and Bahrain, Ivloev and Saipudinov. Those are both Russians. And then in the quarters, it would probably be Nakoti or Kuramagomedov, who he's wrestled before. It's a Hungarian transplant from Dagestan. And then the semis, and then it's a whole other side of the bracket.
Right. So the Russian at least is on the other side.
Which never happens.
Never happens. Magomedov is the actual Russian representative or the neutral athlete representative this year. Burroughs always has to wrestle them in the semifinal. But he will probably have to go through a Russian transfer, at least one, before making it to the actual Russian.
Yeah. Should point out that Kadzhiev is of Russian descent. He wrestles for France.
But it's not a transfer.
Not a transfer. He grew up in France. His family moved there in the 90s. A lot of Chechens moved out of Russia because there was a pretty horrific war that happened in the 90s, so you got refugees. And that's how Kadzhiev and a lot of wrestlers of Russian descent are in places like France, Belgium, etc.
Okay. I know Burroughs beat Nakoti in a world final. Did Nakoti beat him at the World Cup, or was that a different Iranian?
It was Savakui.
Yeah.
Okay.
Savid Kui.
But then this guy beat Savakui. But Burroughs has beaten Nakoti before.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So a little Ranker's Delight situation there.
Classic Ranker's Delight.
This is an episode where I wish we had Shane Sparks on so we could be like, yeah, here's a bad draw for Jordan Burroughs, and he could just yell at us that there are no bad draws, and Jordan's the bad draw.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, behind every Shane Sparks take, there is a good kernel of truth, and it's and, as a wrestling fan, and as the mindset of these incredible competitors, they probably do think that way. But as fans and as
Unless nerds can go outside and he can hit us with some analytics.
yeah,
That's right.
go outside, nerd.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know what's going on with the Cody's girlfriend situation at the moment.
That's true.
So, did you factor that in?
I did not.
So,
Yeah, that's just another useless chime in.
yeah. What'd you guys think about Ono interview bombing Vito during?
I have not watched that one yet, but I did see it. I'll have to
It
watch
was tremendous. Those Albania guys are getting like gold right now. Just hanging out. It's like a resort town where all the wrestlers and everybody is. There's palm trees and everything. And then hey, what's up, Vito?
Yeah, Vito said that Ono hit him up like a year ago because he wants to train together at some point. And then when he found out they're going to be in the same bracket, Vito was like, yeah, maybe not yet. Maybe we'll do that later. But Vito's literally on camera being interviewed, sitting down poolside. And Ono just comes up and he's like, hey, I'm Ono. Like, Vito's kind of like, yeah, I know.
I'm Sonny Ono.
Yeah. So, man, that was great. But love Vito's perspective too. I mean, he's
What did he say?
He's talking about coming off injury and just like what he had to deal with during the NCAA season. And, but he's 100%, he's all the way back, ready to go.
Love to hear that.
Yeah. But Vito was also saying he would love to have a matchup with Ono or, Uguev. It's only going to be one of them because
They got first round.
Yeah, they're wrestling each other first round of this tournament. So
That's gnarly. That's pretty close to the David Taylor, Sadulaev, Gasimpor. Now you got Uguev, Ono, and Vito. One of those guys isn't going to be on the podium.
So yeah, if you needed any reason beyond David Taylor versus Sadulaev to wake up early on Wednesday morning, now you got Ono and Uguev.
These rounds will start at 5:30 Eastern time.
Yeah.
Every day. What day does freestyle start? Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yep.
We actually got a little bit lucky because last week for U23s, they were starting at 4:30 Eastern, but Albania, they save their daylight early, like earlier than us. So their daylight savings time just
Well, it's
happened.
because they're east of us, so their daylight savings time starts even earlier. Everything is just earlier.
I'm done with all of it. I hate it. Enough with these time. Everybody should just be on the same time everywhere. And it's like, oh, you just wake up at 4 a.m. or you wake up at 10 in the afternoon, whatever.
Get some blackout curtains.
Well, I mean, everybody still does their normal day. It's just you stay on the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the time. So the time means it. So some people would eat breakfast at 10 p.m. Some people.
Right.
Yeah.
The afternoon is, but it's no longer the afternoon, the morning. It's still, when the sun comes up, that's the morning. When it goes down, that's the evening. Everybody operates at the same time. No more time zones. I'm over it.
It should all be based off of Central Standard Time, IMO.
I mean,
The best time zone.
why should it be Greenwich? In Greenwich Mean Time, why does London get all of the glory for
Exactly.
getting to decide when exactly noon is or whatever? Should be.
Oh, because you got one big clock there in London?
Yeah, nice clock.
Get out of here.
Maybe add some Casey's and then we can talk.
Yes, exactly. Casey's Arena coming 2025.
Yes,
So much pizza.
Casey's decides the time now. You want to know what time it is? You've contacted Casey's.
That's what the CST stands for. It's Casey's Standard Time.
Casey's Standard Time. Yes, make it so.
All right, back to actual wrestling. I will say the Tuskayev match Vito will have before the Ono Uguev match makes me a little nervous. Potential sleeper match there. It's not a gimme that Vito makes it to the quarter or semi where he'd have Ono Uguev.
It would be semis.
Semis.
So Tuskayev would be in the quarters. Before that, India or Canada. The winner of that is who Vito has in his first round, which is round of 16. And then the quarters, he would probably get Tuskayev.
Tuskayev is...
Or Kazakhstan's also on that quarter, so don't sleep on Aitaken. Aitaken? I don't know. So I've been sleeping on him.
Tuskayev is a Russian who wrestles for Serbia, right?
Correct.
Good friends with Stevan Micic, the Voinoviches, Sadulaev.
They're all
very
yes,
very tight.
That's a tight Serbian community.
Okay. Yeah. Serbia's doing pretty good in the portal.
Serbia has picked up quite a few.
They're packing a punch per capita.
Yeah. Incredible.
They're doing really well.
They're good in basketball and men's freestyle wrestling.
Good for them.
And some tennis. They got some good tennis
They
players.
got some good tennis players.
Mm.
Okay. Worlds did actually start this morning with Greco, and we should give a shout out to Benji Peak
Yes.
for taking out Iran's world and Olympic champion. In the very first round, he then was eliminated. He lost next round and was eliminated, but he did have an amazing round one win.
Yeah. Great moment. Great celebration. You could check that highlight out. But man, it's tough when you get a win that's probably the best win of your career, and then Peak got teched, and then the opponent that teched him got teched shortly after. So unfortunately, he's out. But there is still a chance that Ildar Havisov will get pulled back in, but we won't know till after the semifinals, which start at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we still might have a shot in Greco, but the other three athletes have all been eliminated.
The other kind of big event happening last week was U23 Worlds in Albania. Not the men's freestyle team's best performance, world championship performance. I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people was probably Mitchell Messenbrink losing in his quarterfinal to Japan in a close match, but he lost that one 11-8.
Yeah, Mitchell Messenbrink, I mean, he's really good, not just because of his NCAA performance, but his U20 performances in the past. We knew there's high expectations for him, but 74 was was loaded. Mesenbrink was in wars from like the round of 16 on, and I just was really impressed with the depth at 74 kilos, especially because you don't always know what you're going to get at U23s. Like we had I think on the same day, Mesenbrink loses in the quarters and Lucas Stoddard wins, and he's in the semis, and it's like Lucas Stoddard's really good, but I think he's ranked 21st at heavyweight for Army. So he's a good NCAA level wrestler. Mesenbrink,
We're talking Hodge.
I mean, yeah, it could be the Hodge winner this year, and then takes a loss in the quarters. So U23s is you never know what you're going to get. You have stars like Masumi in there, but then you have other guys and other weights where it can be a little more easy to medal. But I don't know. The depth for me was the story more than just a Mesenbrink loss, and the loss that he took. That guy from Japan, he's so fast.
Yeah, so fast. Caught Mitchell coming in, hit him with the double a couple times, and that really kind of, I think, was the difference maker. Patrick Kennedy also lost to Japan. So obviously there were people freaking out online, hitting the panic button after, given the Olympics performance and then this happening. But y'all know my take. I'm not ready. I don't think this is a systematic thing, but there were people online going, Japan is doing something right, and we are obviously doing something wrong.
You cannot factor U23 like that could be true. It could be that could be true, but you cannot factor U23s into your assessment of where a nation's wrestling team stands. Like we beat Japan in women's freestyle, which we haven't done on the senior level, when they've sent a full team forever. So it's just U23s is a different thing. I mean, the team we sent was the team that those guys earned those spots. They made those weights, but
minus Pinheiro, but we didn't we didn't prioritize U23s. U23s is not an event that you say like, hey, we need to get our absolute best team here. And there are a few reasons for that. One, a lot of the best guys that that could or would qualify for U23s are prioritizing the senior level qualifying, system, or they're still U20. And then some of the other guys are thinking more about the beginning of the NCAA season, so they're not going to do it for that reason. So there's a whole lot of reasons that these U23 teams that nations are sending they're not a very good measuring stick to look at the overall health of your nation's program. So you cannot take U23s too seriously. And for people that are using that to say that like we got to get to the bottom of what's happening in Japan, like no, there might be other reasons to say that, but this isn't really it.
You can, and you also don't want to say that there's nothing that the U.S. could learn from Japan, or that you wouldn't have an advantage, or if you could look at some things that maybe we could do differently. For sure, there's always room for improvement, literally everywhere. But 100% agree with you, Bray. U23s are a fun tournament. They're fun to watch, but do not think it's the be-all, end-all, and it's not worth a drastic change of anything. And you can save the nuclear takes for, way. It wasn't that long ago we had nobody winning matches at World Championships. Like that is when you go, okay, maybe we should really do something different, change the system or whatever. But no, things are cool. Like sometimes you don't win is the takeaway. My takeaway.
I do kind of like nuclear takes though. They're objectively more entertaining.
It makes the online discourse fun, but you participate a little bit in it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably not healthy.
What's wrong with all of society, really?
Correct. But I love it. The downfall of society.
It's a little decline in Western civilization.
Kennedy's loss to Japan was so frustrating, because this guy almost got cautioned out. Maybe could have got 2 cautions, which was classic, taking his time back to the center. It did feel like he was probably a better wrestler than Patrick Kennedy, but Kennedy was so close to gassing him right there, just ran out of time.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite get it done.
Yeah. And, I mean, Mesenbrink's loss to Japan was also frustrating because there was one injury time that I think the guy was injured, but
he was screaming. He sold it well if he was not injured. I'll say that.
The thing is, though, like Mesenbrink was 99% of the way to the takedown. And so that's something where it seems in NCAA wrestling, if you're that close to a takedown and the guy's hurt, they'll give you the takedown and then they'll call the injury time. And they don't do that in freestyle, which was really the one frustrating part of it for me, was that it felt like I didn't think the guy was faking it, but I just thought the rule set didn't reward all of the action that Messenbrink, had put into like getting that close to the takedown. So
I feel like they're supposed to. Like, I thought that was like an emphasis that they were going to use now. It was like
they created the rule you can't, if you scream when on your back, you're just pinned.
Yeah, and it should be the same way. I think it just depends on the referee and how it goes. And it's one of those like, oh, if you reviewed it, would they change it? And I don't know. I don't even think, I think it's just not even rule set specific. I think he just got on the wrong side of a call that shouldn't have gone that way. But I also don't think he was faking the injury.
You could look at two ways. So Rule 2, did Messenbrink get 95% of the way to a takedown because of the injury? Like, when did the injury happen? Exactly.
I think that, yeah. I mean, I would say it's part of the game. It's unfortunate that injuries happen, but yeah, you give up points if you get injured.
It's a way to combat. I mean, in folk style, we have the choice, which is nice, although there are times when it really does suck because it's a tight match and a guy is actually injured, not trying to game the system, and gives up a point potentially because of it. But something has to be done. You can't just have unlimited injury time.
Yeah, I don't understand the way they flip-flop. This is definitely something that's specific to UWW rules, is they have blood time. There's a limit for how much time you get to deal with a bloody nose, but it's unlimited time when you're injured. They should just flip them. I don't know why they set it up that way.
We should mention, I don't know if we actually did that, Messenbrink did come back for bronze.
Yes.
And Cardenas took silver. I think those were our 2 men's freestyle medals. But we had a phenomenal performance from the women, who were team champs, like you said, taking out Japan. That has been the first time in a long time in a team race that we've beaten Japan.
how about Sage Mortimer's win over her Japanese opponent?
The classic plain possum, get down by tech fall. But I got you right where I want you because I know I'm going to be able to continue and pin you.
Yeah, that was awesome. She, just didn't give up in that situation.
And a huge difference maker. I saw Kozak tweeted out, if that result is flipped, Japan wins the team race.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sage Mortimer then followed that up with a win in the finals. But yeah, that was so dramatic. I mean, she's down 8, gives up the turn to go down 10, but there's continuation. She's able to trap this Japanese opponent on her back. And like, Sage Mortimer is just, I think, like, mean. I mean, you just watch her, and she's just, when she gets a hold of a position, she's not going to let it go and work to her advantage. And it was great to see her pull that off. It was like, oh man, when she got her on her back, it was like, nope, I'm not letting go. This is it. So that was great.
Welker and McCoy were our other 2 gold medalists for the women. No surprise there. They're staples already on the senior level, so we had high expectations coming in for them. Macy Kilty took silver, and Jones took bronze to round out the medal haul for the
well-dressed Amani Jones, yes. How about Kilty and Welker both being teammates now at Iowa?
Yeah.
It's a pretty solid lineup.
Yeah, not bad for the Hawkeyes, and just in the
also an Olympic medalist.
Yeah,
and then Kennedy Blades, and
yeah, in the off season, just casually pick up a world finalist and an Olympic finalist. Just no problem. Now they're on our college team. That is crazy. Iowa, man, such a stat. Yeah, they're so stacked.
All right, well, I think that's gonna do it for our show today. Quick and sweet. We got to get out of here. Keep pumping up that World Championship content. I will not be here Thursday, but these 2 guys.
The return of Who's Number One, the show.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's legions of fans that missed that show.
Oh, yes. I know. There are many.
Bringing it back.
Multiple legions. I mean, yeah.
Best show on the internet.
Hey, it's time. It's time for you and me, finally. We're off the chain. It's going to be unleashed.
Finally.
Yeah.
2 guys whose name rhymes. Get their show again.
You're all going to have a lot to discuss because World Championships will have started men's freestyle and women's freestyle will have started by that point. And it's week 1 of college wrestling. It's going to be awesome. See you Thursday. I'll see you. I don't know when I'll see you. See you sometime.